start whenever you're ready.
Okay, I hereby announce pursuant to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act that adequate notice of this meeting has been transmitted on January 14th, 2026 by the Board Administrative Officer to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, the Township Clerk, and has been posted in the meeting room and in the entrance hall and Town Hall, all pursuant to Section 13 of the Open Public Meetings Act.
Roll call. Right.
Yep.
Mr. Connolly?
Here.
Mr. Corrigan is absent. Mr. Vanderham? Here. Mr. Fagan is absent. Ms. Plausas? Here. Mr. Bell? Mr. Bell is absent. Mr. Munn?
Here.
Mr. Silberman?
Here.
Mr. Dorse? Mr. Dorse is absent. And Mr. Robbins? Mr. Robbins is absent. We have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And just a moment of silence to honor the military, police, and first responders. Thank you. All right. First item on our agenda, resolution. Resolution 2026-05, Brightwater Senior Living Development, LLC, 2129 NJ 35, Homedale, New Jersey, 07733, Block 58, lots 28 and 29.01, and portions of Block 58.02, Lot 36, Administrative Plan Revisions. I guess, Marty, we have...
Yeah, it was just, there's no conditions or anything. It's just an administrative amendment to the prior approval due to the NJDOT requirements of the applicant. And our township engineer came and testified and had no objection if the board so agreed. They're still subject to all the prior conditions, although the facility's being built. It's already being occupied. Yeah. So it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, so we just make a motion to accept?
And they had, our engineer had no comments to the resolution. We did send it to council. I hadn't heard from her. Yeah, motion to accept.
For the record, it was sent to Township Engineer.
Yeah, yeah.
I make a motion.
Not correct.
I'll second.
Eligible to vote, Mr. Connolly,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderham,
Yes.
Ms. Plausas, and Mr. Silberman.
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution passed.
Okay, second on the item is the minutes from April 21st, 2026. If no one has any comments or questions on it, do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
Mr. Connolly,
Yes.
Mr. Silberman,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderham,
Yes.
and Ms. Plausas. For the record, minutes for April 21st, 2026 were successfully approved.
Okay, now, the public hearing on PB-2026-03, Slice Marketing LLC, B13 Lot 1604 at 15 Main Street, Homedale, New Jersey, 07733. The application is for a 10,000 square foot storage shed located at the rear of the property, as well as additional parking spaces to bring the total parking spaces to 180 spaces, including 3 EV make-ready spaces. At this time, I'll turn it over to the applicant's attorney.
Just housekeeping. Irina, escrows are fine, and notice everything was fine, right?
Escrow notice is fine.
And just confirm there's no conflicts with any board members and/or the applicants to board members?
Nope.
Seeing none.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow board members, board professionals. Appreciate to be here. My name is Scott Hyatt. I'm here on behalf of Slice Marketing, the applicant. The property is at 15 Main Street. Yep. The property is at 15 Main Street in Homedale. It's right next to the Vantage site. It's to the west of it to give everybody an idea of where it is. And as the chairman was saying, the purpose of this application is twofold. It's one, to construct an accessory building of 10,000 square feet in rear of the property, which will be used as a storage shed. And in addition, to add 72 parking spaces. There's currently 108, add another 72 to make a total of 180 spaces. There will be ADA compliant spaces as well as some EV charging spaces. I have a few witnesses here. My first witness that I'd like to call is a representative from the company. So at this time, I'd like to call Ms. Rebecca Kaplan.
Okay, I think you guys swear her in.
Yes. So, you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God with regard to this application? Okay, just spell your full name for the record, please.
Rebecca Kaplan, R-E-B-E-C-C-A, last name Kaplan, K-A-P-L-A-N. You want me to do it again? Okay. Rebecca Kaplan, R-E-B-E-C-C-A, last name Kaplan, K-A-P-L-A-N.
Thank you.
And just your title with the company.
I'm the CMO.
Okay, and before we proceed, Mr. Hart, we need to swear our professionals too.
Sure.
Both swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth with regard to this application.
Yes.
And for the record, our witnesses have been sworn as well.
Thank you very much, counsel. Ms. Kaplan, how long have you been employed as the CMO by Slice?
Just over a year.
And is it fair to say you were appointed to be the point person for purposes of this project?
Yes.
So you have personal knowledge of the meetings with myself and with Stonefield and the design and the intent of the application?
Yes.
Briefly describe for the board what Slice does.
Sure. So Slice is a company with a national footprint headquartered here in Homedale that distribute and manage POS systems, so credit card processing machines. We don't make them. We back the technology and the tech and the administration of the devices and the technology behind them.
So I know you just saw, and I know we can't physically mark, but I wanted the board to see a physical example of what's going to be stored in the accessory building. So can you just describe for the board what this is and exactly how many do you believe will be stored?
Sure. So right now, Slice has about $8 million in product, not sitting on property because we don't have the space. So we rent a storage facility to facilitate the national distribution and transfer of these devices to our clients. You've all seen these credit card processing machines. This was a little one, so it was easy for me to carry. But the boxes and the sizes are all different, from what they see in the kitchen to what you see when you're up at a cash register, to the paper itself. It's all of the technology and devices that process your credit cards and your orders.
So this is a typical box of what would be delivered to Slice, and then
That's right.
Slice would ship that out to different customers, correct?
That's right.
Real quick, since we're on the subject of this, would there be any large trucks making these deliveries?
This would actually cut down on the deliveries that we see of these products. Like I said, it's stored somewhere else, but we do ship nationally. What happens now is just like when you're at Verizon getting your phone, it's a brick until you set it up into a system and a network. These don't do anything and have no function until they are provided functionality that is bespoke to each and every client. So what we do now is we have them coming in from the warehouse. We're setting everything up and then shipping it back out across the country. What would happen now is that the inventory would live on property, which would diminish the deliveries. We would probably get one delivery every 7 months rather than a delivery a week.
And delivery truck size-wise, you're talking typical box trucks
Yeah,
like
like
UPS, FedEx, things like that.
That's
We're
right.
not talking big tractor trailers that
That's
would be entering the
correct.
site. Okay. Second component of this is, well, let's talk about the storage shed. Let me take a step back. On the screen, and hopefully the board can see, I apologize, of course. There we go. Let's see if that reconnects. On the screen is an example from Titan Steel. That's the contractor that Slice is contracting with, correct?
That's correct.
And this is representative of the size, style, and shape of the 10,000 square foot building that you would be putting on, correct?
That's accurate.
and it's going to be made out of metal, correct?
Correct.
So it's going to do well with the weather. It's not going to rot like wood. You're not going to have to worry about termites or anything like that, correct?
Correct.
And the metal can be painted.
These have been introduced or submitted ahead of time?
Not this, because this is just the website, but everything else, all the plans. I don't know,
This specific one was not.
This-
So we'll do
This is just an
A1.
example.
We
right?
should just mark it as A1.
A1.
and just submit
That's
it
fine.
somewhere to-
Sure, I'm happy to do that. So we'll make this A1.
And if you could just email me this picture
Yep,
tomorrow.
I will.
Thank you.
And I'm going to show what we'll mark as A2. And these are actual design schematics from Titan for the proposed building, correct?
Yes.
And this was submitted to the board. The board should have copies of this.
So we don't need to mark this then.
All right, okay. And just to be clear, it's 13 pages, so I just want to make sure everybody had that, the full copies. And this is going to be located in the back right corner of the property, in the rear of the parking lot?
That's right.
Okay. I want to, because parking is such a big part of the application, I want to just briefly talk about the number of employees who are on site at Slice. Currently, how many?
Currently, there are 130 full-time in-person employees.
So you don't do remote, you actually have employees show up every day.
Correct. In the Homedale office, which is the headquarters, there is 130 people Monday through Friday in office.
And right now, you only have 108 spaces. So you-
That's correct.
So right now, you can't accommodate the number of employees that you have.
That's right.
Okay. And you're growing, correct?
That's right. So it is a rapidly growing business. I would say on any given week, there's 2 to 4 new hires every Monday.
Real quick, let's talk about security for the accessory building.
Sure.
How is that going to be addressed?
So it would be tied into the overall security system of the building. So in terms of, there'll be cameras and locks and lights. And they'll all just be integrated into the security and that we have currently.
Okay, with that, unless the board or its professionals have questions, I have no further questions for Ms. Kaplan.
So just, if you can just go back to the trucking. So right now, the boxes are at some other location. A truck brings them to the office. The office personnel touch that box, and then it gets sent out somewhere else?
That's right. All
So-
over the country.
So this is gonna stop the trucks coming in.
Correct.
But still trucks leaving to go to customers?
That's correct. And not at a increased rate. I mean, there'll be
it's
half as many
Similar
trucks.
rate, right?
Well, we're not dropping off, we're just pushing out.
Right, the outflow
The
will
outflow will be the same.
No change to outflow.
That's correct.
Just a change in inflow.
Yep.
Okay. And then you said the capacity of the building, or currently is 130. Do you know what the capacity of the building is? Like, how many can you fit in the building?
I believe 165. I think 165 full-time, like
Okay.
seats. I think that the fire inspector was there a couple weeks ago. I believe that's what he said.
Okay. Do you know if the office building is a sewer or septic, by chance?
The engineers will be
Okay,
able
that's
to
fine.
handle that question.
I'll wait
Yeah.
that on that question. In the shed itself, the garage itself, will there be an office?
No, it's
So it's just
just
storage.
storage
Okay.
and a light bulb,
Okay.
All right, so I got a few questions.
I have one
Okay.
question, and it's based on the box that's sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
Are there sprinkler systems that are going to be in the storage shed? Because I'm looking at the box, I see lithium batteries listed on the side with a potential fire hazard.
If it's made a condition, then we would comply with having sprinklers.
But it's not in this application
But
right
it's
now?
not in this application,
And
correct?
do we know if the fire officials have put together a comment on this? I haven't.
Fire officials' comment is on the interdepartmental. But if something's not on the application, he can't comment it.
Okay, so yes, he does have the type of commodity, so I think listing for the fire marshal, what's going to be stored. He may have some comments on this. Arena, if we can, or if the applicant can submit that.
absolutely.
Happy to.
All right, so right now, I mean, is there a reason why, if they're on site, are they set up in your offices? The machines, when you
Like
change
when
it
they're
from a-
customized?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you were to call and you needed 3 of these and 5 of those other things, we pull and then we make them for your own business, and they tie back to your website, they could tie back to your inventory, so if you have a clothing store, it all
No, I
tie
understand what it
back.
does. What I'm saying is, currently, right now, you store them off-site somewhere, right? So I'm trying to understand, like, what's the benefit of storing them on-site versus off-site? Like, if it's just a storage facility, you could ship them from anywhere. So why?
They have to come to the building, they're stored somewhere, then they have to have hands on them before we send them to a client. So we're cutting out not only that potential to get this out to the client quicker, but the storage facility, the fees and the costs associated with housing that much off-site of something we already own just didn't seem to be the benefit of the business.
Yeah, I just want to add, Mr. Chairman. So this box has different types of machines, not just this one. This is an example of one, but there's many different types. And so say a restaurant in town wants to have these for handy for their waiters and waitresses, but have a POS system at point of contact. Someone goes up to the counter, wants to get a slice. We all see those screens. You can leave a tip. You can sign, put your credit card in, things like that. So what happens is they have to then, once they receive them, and they're storing them on site right now and running out of room very quickly in their office for this, is they have to then customize the shipping out box for whatever that customer wants. So a customer may want 3 of those, 2 of the POS ones with the screens and other things. And so they have to unpack this. They have to then customize the new shipping out box and make sure it gets integrated and everything with that customer. So right now, it's just not practical. They're using space in the office that should be used for employees and meetings and conference rooms and being productive with storage of these boxes. So even if you store them all off site like they're currently doing, they still have to come to 15 Main, and they still have to be opened and customized and scanned and set up for those customers to go out.
So if I have a sense of scale, let's say, how many boxes, just approximately, would be stored in these facilities? So
15,000.
15,000. And how many boxes a week would you say you need to get ready to ship out every week? I know it varies, just an average.
400.
400. So like, help me with
400
my
a
math.
month.
400 a month.
Sorry, I was like, wow,
No,
that's
you were right.
amazing.
It's 400 a week.
Oh, it's 400 a week.
400 a week.
It's
So
about 1,500 a month to
right.
1,600 a month. I've spoken with the
Alright,
CEO
so
and
it's-
verified that.
So 1,500 a month. So it's 1/10, and then it's right. Okay. Yeah. The only reason I'm asking is because of it.
Well,
Maybe.
Each box will have more than one product in it. So if there's
No,
15,000.
I get. I'm just trying to get a sense that it's a pretty massive, to be quite honest, not the most attractive type of building. So just thinking, does it really need to be that big? If you only, because you could basically bring in 1,000 each week, then you can customize it, bring another 1,000 in.
Well, then we'd still have to have the storage facility off
Yeah,
property.
okay. Yeah,
And
I
that's a
mean,
very large
personally, I'm not
expense.
concerned too much about your bottom line, so to speak, about how difficult it might be. I'm just trying to understand if there's any play in the size of this monstrosity not many people want to stare at a big tin building.
I will say,
It's behind the line of sight. It's behind the building.
Is that going to be?
How often, I guess, thinking about it's heavy tech, right? It's a lot of technology
Yes.
in these products. And the point of sale device, these handheld devices, how often are they changed? So is a lifespan of that product a year, 2 years, 5 years? What's the...
For a client, I would say 24 months.
Do you lease then the system
Yes,
and
sir.
then they return it, or
They can, or they can, get into a new lease, and then these devices just get sent back. They're just bricked, or
do
they
you
throw them
store
out.
the devices that are returned?
We send them back to the manufacturer.
Manufacturers.
Yeah, well, just to go back, I know you're saying line of sight, but you're talking line of sight from the road, right? Is that when you said
Correct.
it's away from the line
Yeah.
of sight, right? So,
I would disagree with that.
right, I would disagree with that too, but if, you know, if there's a new development advantage, that might be in their line of sight, right?
We're also going, and I'll let the engineer speak about the vegetation and the shade and the bushes that are going to be put there. There will be some coverage though on the sides and so forth to block if there was a new development on Vantage when and if that happens. So.
Go ahead, you can, we can go back and forth, go ahead.
So, another quick question for you. Obviously, large building, you take the boxes in, program them, send them back out to the shed? Or are people going to be working in this accessory
No one
dwelling?
will be working inside this building.
So they're
will
gonna
take 'em
physically
out,
pick the boxes up, walk
take 'em
back
out.
inside?
Yeah, and then ship them out after they've been programmed. Ship them around the country.
So there won't be any workers inside
None.
the building for
No.
any length of time other than to grab product off the shelves?
Correct.
So there's no workstation?
None.
Correct.
All right, well, maybe the way to go here is we'll let your witnesses and we'll let our professionals speak. Maybe those questions might be answered, but, right, because we're asking for a lot of variances or waivers here, and, you know, sometimes it's got to be shown that there's a hardship or there's a reason why you want these things, not just because it's easier for you to do these things, right?
Well, it just allows us to invest back in the business and, you know,
I get that,
employees.
I get that, I understand it you're talking from a business perspective, I get that. But, all right, so I guess you want to, let them call the witnesses first, or we let our professionals go first? Unless they have questions.
I have no questions for this witness. I would recommend that we hear the
Yeah, okay.
engineering testimony, hear about the site conditions, things like that.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry, I do have one question. You talked about currently 130 full-time people, and you only have, what, 108 stalls. Is there a parking issue on site now?
Well, luckily, there's a lot of salespeople who run around sometimes during the day, so there's a lot of jockeying.
Okay.
But when we have an all hands, it becomes an interesting issue.
And Craig, do we know what the occupancy load of that building is? Is it 165?
That I
Do we,
don't
do
know.
we know that?
So are they like parking on the grass, and then if it becomes a problem?
We've been in communication with the folks at Vonage, and when we need, they let us park at those spots where they did, right at that edge, and people walk across the grass.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Kaplan. You want to call your next witness, counsel?
Yeah, Michaela McGuire, please, from Stonefield. You're free. Rebecca. You can move that on the floor.
Just swear, we got to swear you in.
But the truth so help you God with regard to this application?
Yes, I do.
Just again, spell your name for the record.
Is this on?
You know, Irene, in the future, you should probably have 2 mics there in the future.
But there's 2.
What's that? Oh, there is?
I have one.
No, I know that. There should be probably 2 stands, because there's always going to be a witness usually, so they can talk. Yeah, in the future, yeah. Okay. Make a motion.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll make it rent, we'll make
Yeah.
it rent.
Okay, did she swear in yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Michaela McGuire, last name spelled Maguire. I'm a project manager at Stonefield Engineering and Design, located at 92 Park Ave in Rutherford, New Jersey.
Ms. McGuire, can you just briefly tell the board your credentials and what professional licenses you hold?
Yes, I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. My license is in good standing. I received my Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from the University of Delaware. I have over 8 years of experience in land use development in the state of New Jersey. I've been accepted over 50 times as an expert in New Jersey. And I've been accepted specifically in Monmouth County, in Long Branch, and Marlborough.
This time I'd ask the board to accept Ms. McGuire's qualifications to testify as a professional engineer on behalf of the applicant.
Yes, it's okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. McGuire, I have on the screen the preliminary and final major site plan for Slice Marketing prepared by Stonefield. Did you work on this site plan?
Yes, I did.
All right. I want you to briefly walk the board through, and I can, go from page to page for you to discuss the project and the comments that we did receive from the board's engineer, if you can.
Okay. Yeah, so just to clarify, this is the preliminary and final site plan that we included in the submission. It's dated April 1st, 2026, so I don't believe we have to mark this. The site is located at Block 13, Lot 16.04. It's at 15 Main Street, also known as County Route 520, within the Township of Homedale. The lot area is 527,017 square feet, or 12.10 acres in its entirety, and it's located within the office laboratory zone, which is shown in light blue on the screen. The property to the north and east is also located in that same OL2 zone. The property to the northwest, shown in green, is located within an R4R residential zone. There is one abandoned home, it appears, within that area, and aside from that, no nearby residential houses. To the west, or shown in red or pink on the screen, is the B2 zone. It's the gas station. And then to the south, also in green, that same residential zone. Do want to note there are no residential houses there either. The site has one frontage along Main Street. It's about 700 feet long. There is currently one vehicular access that will remain as part of this application. I do want to note there's currently no sidewalks along the frontage or anywhere in the vicinity of the site. I know there was a comment requesting sidewalks for people walking to lunch. However, there is no current access for pedestrian access along this frontage. Currently on site, there is one 2-story building. That's the office that we've been discussing. And then in the rear, there is an existing parking lot that has 111 parking spaces. And then the entirety of the western portion of the site is all wooded. There's a couple environmental features which I'll get into, but essentially the half western portion of the site is wooded and will remain as it is today. So regarding a couple of the existing environmental features, we did have an environmental scientist go on site to flag the existing wetlands that currently are on site. They are flagged along the existing stream that's to the western portion of the site. And then there's also a smaller area closer to Main Street that was flagged for wetlands as well.
Just want to stop you right there. So where the construction of the proposed accessory building is and the change to the parking lot, that is well without outside any buffers of the existing wetlands, correct?
Correct. We are conservatively showing the wetland buffer as 150 feet, and the nearest disturbance is over 400 feet away from where these wetlands are flagged. So more than double the required buffer for those areas.
Okay, go ahead and continue.
In addition, per the stream that I mentioned before, there's a 300-foot riparian zone. We are showing that on our plans as well. Similarly to the wetlands, any proposed disturbance is well over 400 feet away from that stream. So again, conservatively, we are not disturbing anywhere within those buffers. And then lastly, that stream does have a flood hazard area associated with it. The elevations on site, since it does slope as you go to that stream, are 10 to 20 feet higher than that flood hazard area elevation. Therefore, I know that was a lot with the DEP. We don't anticipate any impact with these proposed improvements with the DEP or environmental constraints on site. We do understand that part of the request from one of the engineering review letters was to obtain an LOI and a verification. The applicant does agree to submit for those as a condition of approval. The only thing that the applicant does ask for is to be allowed to move forward with construction, assuming, and we do get an approval tonight, just based off the significant distance from any of the environmental features on site. Continuing to the proposed site plan, which is shown on sheet C4 of, again, the same preliminary and final major site plan that we submitted. As mentioned, the existing 2-story office building, parking area, and wooded site to the west are all to remain. The applicant is proposing a 1-story shed that's 10,000 square feet in the northeast corner of the site. That shed is 160 feet by 63 feet. I do want to confirm that that's the right size. The shed's proposed at 16 feet tall, and as noted, it's proposed to be used for storage. There's no offices in this location, etc. I do want to talk through the location of this shed a little bit. I know I went through the environmental constraints, which did have a significant impact on where we were placing this shed in order to keep it away from the riparian zone, the wetlands buffers. So that's really why we have this in this top northeast corner. Additionally, there is a residential buffer from the residential zone that I mentioned previously that is kind of to the northwest. So again, the further we move this shed east, the further we get away from that residential buffer. So there's a couple reasons why we, placed it in this area that we did. Based off this location, we are seeking relief for the setback at 31.9 feet from the property limit. In addition to the shed, we're proposing 69 additional parking spaces to the east of the current parking area. The current supply is 111, so that brings us to a total of 180 parking spaces on site under proposed conditions. 6 of them are proposed to be ADA spaces, those are new. And then in addition, we're adding 3 EV make-ready spaces per the New Jersey standard. We are compliant with the parking where 1 space per 25 square feet is required, and that results into 83 spaces. I do want to note we're not counting the storage shed in the parking requirement. We are seeking relief for the loading space for not having one specifically designated on site. I do want to note that any loading operations for the office would remain in that roundabout or turnaround area in front of the building, and we do have a 50-foot by about 25-foot in front of the storage shed that is open for deliveries. It's just not specifically called out as a loading area. In addition, we're proposing a trash enclosure in that same northeast corner. It's about 40 feet setback from the property. Any of the parking areas that are proposed do meet any of the parking space and drive aisle requirements. There was a comment for the existing parking field where a couple of the spaces are a little bit short. They're 17.8 feet. The applicant does agree to restripe those spaces so they are compliant with the code. We are also seeking relief for the sidewalk setback from a building. 20 feet is required. In that rear area with the shed, we do have a 5-foot sidewalk adjacent to that building. There was a comment in the engineering review letter about vehicular overhang, so we can increase that to 6 feet if needed.
Does that push the building back?
No. The drive aisle in front of that building, I believe, is about 30 feet, so we do have a little bit of wiggle room there. To talk about the bulk requirements quick, so we do have an existing nonconformity for the lot area. The required size here is 30 acres, and the existing lot is 12.1 acres. I do want to note that because that does impact the setbacks when the lot area is that much smaller than the required. And then we also have an existing building setback and an existing residential zone setback. Both of those are for the existing office building, not for the new proposed shed. The only bulk standards that are changing with this application would be the coverages. So the max building coverage here is 5%. We're proposing 3.86, so we are under that and compliant. The max FAR is 0.1 and we're 0.06, so again, under that and compliant. And then the max lot impervious coverage is 20%. We are proposing 20%, so again, compliant. One of the comments coming out of the TRC meeting was to reduce the impervious coverage and remove that variance, which was a change we made coming into this hearing. Regarding the stormwater on site, with the additional impervious coverage and the disturbance, we are a major development, so we do trigger quantity, quality, and recharge requirements. We are proposing a above-ground bioretention basin to the south of the proposed additional parking area. We are designing this to meet, as I mentioned, quantity, so we are meeting reductions for this additional impervious coverage, so we are mitigating that additional impervious coverage. For quality, we're treating with a 4-bay, and then recharge, we are infiltrating. So we are improving any of the runoff that's leaving the site. We are meeting any of the township and or DEP requirements for that as well. All of the existing utilities are proposed to remain and be reutilized. Again, the shed will really just be used for power and no bathrooms or anything that would trigger any additional sewer or water usage. There is an existing septic field on site. It was not picked up on the survey, but from site visits, we do believe that it is in front of the building and on the left side of the building. We do agree to confirm separation with our proposed above-ground stormwater basin, but the basin is across the drive aisle from that, so I do believe we have enough separation. All the lights on site are proposed to be LED, downward facing, and dark sky compliant. We have designed the lighting to provide safe vehicular and pedestrian access around the site. We did limit the lighting analysis to the additional parking area just because there are existing area lights on site for where the existing parking is. We're proposing a series of area lights and wall-mounted lights within this additional parking area. One of the comments from the letters was to lower the wall mounts on the storage shed, which we can agree to do. I do want to note those might slightly change some of these values I'm talking through. We are seeking relief for being over some of these lighting requirements, but I do want to note we are trying to keep a minimum illumination level of about 0.5 within this parking area for safe access at night. I do want to note we're still meeting the minimum light levels at the property limits, so even though it's a little bit higher in the parking area, it is cutting off before the property limits, and we are meeting or under the max light intensity in the parking area where 10's the max, and we're still under that at 8.9. But we are seeking relief for the average light intensity. We're over that one, like I mentioned, and then the average to minimum and max to minimum uniformity ratios. We do agree to work with the professionals to see if we could get those light levels down, but again, want to meet a minimum level within this parking area for safety. Finally, to talk through the landscaping, we are proposing to keep the entirety of the wooded area that, again, I talked about, that's on the western portion of the site. There is one street tree that we are removing as part of this application. We do agree to submit for a tree removal permit for this street tree as needed. So within this developed area, there was only one tree. We are proposing 23 deciduous trees and then 6 evergreen trees, so a total of 29 trees within this area. About 16 of those are focused in front of the storage shed. I know there was a lot of conversation on buffering the visibility from the right-of-way, which is why we added majority of those trees kind of behind the basin in that area to buffer the storage shed there. We are meeting the foundation planting requirements, again, for this rear shed, and we are screening the trash enclosure. One of the comments in the engineering letter was asking for additional evergreens, which I can agree we can comply with. And then with that, we did get a chance to review the engineering and planning review letters. We can agree to comply with any of the comments that I have not previously mentioned in my testimony.
No further questions. I'll turn it over to the board and its professionals.
Okay, Craig and Kate, who wants to chime in first?
Sure. A couple of questions. You talked a little bit about the loading, and although you're not specifically identifying a loading space, you do have the area in front of the shed. So, first of all, I guess there's going to be 1 or 2 garage doors there?
I believe so. It is not yet designed, but I believe that's the intention.
Okay. And one of my comments was to provide a circulation plan, so that would really be for all vehicles, whether it be a box truck, a garbage truck, access to the dumpster area, box truck access to the shed or any other vehicle that would be used, and then for cars and ambulances, fire trucks. That's one of the comments that we would request. Another comment is the septic system. Do you have any information on size, especially if you're increasing the amount of people in the building? Will it be will accommodate all the people that are proposed to be in the building?
So we, again, it wasn't picked up on the survey. We are requesting old documents to see when this was put in. Assuming it was designed for the square footage of the office building, it would have capacity, but we're gonna have to see if we can get the size to confirm that.
Okay, so you'll confirm that.
Yes.
That's all the questions I have right now.
Kate.
It's like Kate.
Yeah, so, hi, how's it going? Mr. Chairman, you kind of alluded to this before it came up. So my concern with this, and it's not with the, I understand the purpose of this. My concern has always been, since we came to the TRC, what this is gonna look like from the road. This is an area that was, obviously there's a stream corridor running through here, but this was historically an agricultural area, which means that there's not a lot of existing tree cover, along 520 there. So, I see this plan, I see how all how it's laid out, and I just want to, what's the, it's hard to tell kind of just from a plan view, so I think that the board would like to hear this too. Is there going to be landscaping in the basin as well? What's going to be the look when you're really looking through this? Because those 3 trees that are between the basin and the parking area, those are shade trees?
Correct.
Okay. And I know, for safety purposes, things like that, you don't want it to be you can't completely block off the parking area, but it's really just gonna be the look of that building at the end of that. Then I have another comment about viewing it from other portions of other sites, but I just wanted to see, I guess the question here is, do you think that it's sufficient to, if not completely block it, but sufficiently screen the mass of that building? And if you'd be willing to work with, the applicant would be willing to work with the professionals to make sure that we're comfortable with it.
Yes, we would absolutely be willing to work with the professionals to make sure that we are screening it. We did try to stagger, the location of these trees. So when you are driving, either eastbound or westbound on Main Street, it would really block this shed in the back. That is kind of why they're all set back, at this office building or behind it.
Right.
We could certainly mix up the deciduous versus evergreen to create some buffering that's, closer to the ground versus higher up in the air, to work with you guys on the screening for that.
Oh, yeah, I think that would be good, because I think that this is not an impossible problem to solve on this side. It's just tricky given the size of the property, the property lines, things like that. But I don't think anyone wants to be able to, and I understand why what this building at this size, why this is proposed in this location, why it makes sense given the constraints on the site. Okay, the second thing is that as the chairman also alluded to, there is a redevelopment plan on the Vonage site behind you. So it's a little tricky because it hasn't been formally, certain phases of it haven't really been formally approved yet, but they have gotten a preliminary preliminary approval for the whole site. And the redevelopment plan really does specify what's going to go where. So the piece that's just for the board's knowledge as well, I know we're all familiar, but the piece of the property that's directly to the east, that's like gonna be, if you're looking at the plan just straight ahead to your right, that's going to be the township owned piece. However, right behind there to the north, that is kind of an undeveloped portion. It's a portion of the Vonage site that's outside of the ring road that's proposed to remain undeveloped and wooded. However, right there on the other side of the ring road, there are going to be some of the townhouses. So, and I apologize that we didn't catch this, during the TRC and everything like that, but I would request, and typically this isn't something we would do, but if we could add some landscaping on the back of the building.
Yeah, that's because what I was trying to bring up before
Yes.
is that, we always try to be cognizant of our neighbors. When they buy a piece of land, they don't expect to see a big 10,000 square foot commercial looking metal monstrosity in their backyard. So I don't know how it lays out with, maybe we can get them the proposed plan.
Well, yeah, because
And then they can overlay it and see how it looks, and maybe we can see that, because
So I'm looking at it right now, and it's a little bit of a unique situation because there aren't any, no one is living there.
That's
No one
right.
has bought anything, and no one will wake up. Obviously, people would be here. They would have gotten noticed. And it has not received final approval yet. It's only received preliminary approval. But the preliminary approval is in, per the testimony, per the TC's requirements, redevelopment agreement. It's pretty, the goal of where everything's going to go is going to remain very close to the same. Everything's going to be within the ring road. So the fact that it's within the ring road and that that the Vonage plan does not propose touching like the area directly, like if you just look, it's not shown on here because it's off the site, but the area directly north of there, do you have an aerial, sorry, that you could pull up? Yeah, yeah,
Sure.
just for the board right now. There you go. So it's not very heavily wooded, but that portion where there are trees right outside the ring road.
I got this. I don't know if you can see
To
it.
my
I'll
knowledge,
do this now.
Vonage.
Can you see it?
Yeah, 'cause Vonage isn't going to touch that. They're not touching anything outside the, or excuse me,
Right.
the applicant, the Vonage redevelopment area. Sorry, they're not touching anything outside the ring road, so there are going to be still some trees there. But we'd be willing to work with you. I think that it's not. This is an office, it's a big building, they are requesting a variance, but this is an office laboratory, office research zone. And I think that, we'd want to double check and see kind of the view sheds and the angles, but I think that there is a way to, arborvitae, something like that.
Because you
So-
said 16-foot high. Is that to the peak of the roof?
The peak is 20 feet.
Right.
Yes.
So it's not really, it's 20 feet high, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm a little confused. At the very beginning of the meeting, Mrs. Kaplan introduced us to a building, 2 bays, 2 garage bays, big building, steel, etc. When Mr. Herman just asked the question, will there be 2 bays? The engineer said that we haven't designed the building yet. So what are we actually voting on, or what are we looking at? Because I need to know what I am going to be approving or
Sure.
Sure.
So-
not.
So
I need some kind of a rendering
I
before
can
move
answer
on.
that for you. So the very first picture, which we marked as A1,
You said
was
that was from the company?
that's from the company's
And that's what
website,
it was
and
going to look
and
like.
that is what I said is a similar. I wanted to give the board just a general idea of what a similar 10,000 square foot building would be based on that website. However, the board does have the actual schematic designs for this building that was submitted as part of the plan, and so you can see. And if you want, I could pull them up. I have no problem doing that.
I mean,
It's
I
right
would just
here.
think that maybe going with not a peaked roof, but maybe a flat roof, making it smaller, less
So,
intrusive.
so if you see the schematics I have on the screen now, this was submitted. This is directly from the contractor specifically for this project.
It just doesn't have a main door though, right? So where's the garage door?
Correct. This does not have that because it wasn't designed that way, but to the extent that there's going to be security needs, there will be some type of locking door and everything else. So that will be added to that. There's no question that this is not going to be open.
So there
Given
won't
the
be
amount of money and product that's going to be stored here, there will be locking doors,
Will
no
it be
question.
a loading dock door or just a normal door?
It'll be like a garage type door. So if that answers your question.
Yes, it's not proposed to be, and as far as I understand it, nothing that looks like a warehouse loading, anything like that.
Correct. It's
It'll
not going to be
yes.
where you would have it elevated so trucks could back into it.
Right,
It's not going to be like a loading dock or anything like that. It's going to be, to the surface, a typical garage door.
I think what you showed is the general idea of what it's looked like. Maybe not the number of doors, but that's
Correct.
generally what it's.
That's
gonna
correct,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, and that's what I
Yes.
was trying, just to give the board a little flavor, not to say this is the exact thing that it's going to look like. I wanted the board to understand that's a similar one that the company had designed, and I wanted just the board to, and it was in response to some comments, because a lot of the comments we had is, what is this gonna look like and what's gonna be stored there? So we were trying to be responsive to that, but to the extent that there was any confusion, it's my apologies. This is specific to the project. So these plans that were submitted are specific to what is gonna be designed here, and there will be garage doors with locks
Yeah.
and so forth.
And Scott, to answer your question about, the peaked roof, I think that for this building, I think that the 4 foot height difference is, it's not going to be that noticeable. The slope is pretty gentle, as you can kind of see on here, and I have a feeling that it's probably required to be that way for structural reasons. And the way that it's measured, I think if it could be overall lower, but I think that flat at 16 feet would not make much of a difference.
Because the footprint's 10,000. But
Right.
they're going higher to store more stuff in there. And yeah, you can have trusses that are shallower going across that. You don't need a peak. But I'm just trying to make it less massive.
Yes, I think that scaling the length, we're not here to design the applicant's project, they're here with what they're proposing. I think that reducing the length of the building would have a bigger impact than the height.
I guess what
Yeah.
always one of the hottest, or one of the main issues that's always presented for us is maintaining this town's, the big word is bucolic nature, and not become an industrial park and things like that. And, and also being mindful of neighbors, and making sure that their quality of life or living isn't compromised at all. So, I would suggest maybe getting copies of the vonage and just see how it lays out. I wish Wes was here because he's big on where that retention pond is and
I got that question.
a lot of those stuffs. But I don't know if there's a way, to make the structure look less industrial, if possible. That might help a little with some people, assuming that all these other issues aren't a big deal. So.
Kate, maybe you can answer the question.
Sure.
So yes, the open air reservoir that we see on the site, the first page, you see that open air reservoir in the back there. How close to that is to the property line of the project site?
It's very close.
It doesn't look like it's that far away, right?
It's not very close, but my understanding, and I don't want to misspeak. My understanding, that's not going to be used anymore.
That's right. I mean, it's not.
Right, but they're gonna put a shed 30 plus whatever that distance is, right? Because it's going to be 30 feet from the back line of the property, and then another whatever it is between the property line and the open air reservoir. That's not going away anytime soon, right? It's going to take some time for them to get rid of that reservoir. I would assume this project will be completed before that reservoir gets removed.
Yes.
So is there an issue with what's underneath under the ground? I don't know how deep that reservoir goes, where the drainage is.
Well, this is not going to have any, I don't think that this project is not going to have any kind of foundation or anything like that would impact it. From a runoff perspective, I don't think so, but I will defer to Craig if he has any other comments.
I do have a couple questions.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I just have one before I defer the whole thing to Craig, but he can answer that. My last comment is about the impervious coverage. Yes, when the applicant came into TRC, they were a couple points over 20, and I said, we recommended you bring that to below, which they did. They're not requesting a variance for impervious coverage. That said, they are requesting exactly 20%, and we would hate to see something kind of happen during construction, something gets changed a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're over. And it also just in the future, you want to add a walkway, you want to add this or that, you find yourself needing a variance or so. So I would recommend, I think that this is a recommendation we make to a lot of applicants in this township is, just trying to get it down by a couple, give yourself a little bit of leeway there. 19 and a half, something like that. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Yes.
So just leads Mr. Vanderham's question too. So I guess it's going to be on some sort of a shallow footing for the shed.
Correct.
Okay. The roof runoff, are you planning on piping it directly into the system to the basin, or is that going to?
Yes, I believe we were showing roof leaders that were going to connect into the basin.
Okay. So with your question, there's going to be no splash blocks or anything with water going. It's going to be pulled to the front and controlled in that basin.
Correct.
So this is more of a question for the board. The engineer had requested the fact with the LOI and the verification. So normally, in a situation like this, as part of resolution compliance, the applicant would need to get that verification and that LOI from the DEP before we let them go forward with construction. Now, here they're asking to enable to start construction with not having that yet, acknowledging they're going to apply for it. So with that, if I'd like some direction from the board, maybe in the resolution, if this is approved, how would you like me to move forward with that? And what parameters, if that's allowed, they need the LOI and or verification prior to TCO where they can use the building, they can start construction, that type of information, just some direction from the board. And of course, this would be at the applicant's risk. I don't see any issue with it. Basically, the LOI and verification defines the regulated areas by the DEP, and I agree that those regulated areas are pretty far away from any disturbance, so I don't see an issue. But if there is a difference in opinion by DEP and something does encroach into a regulated area, then they would need to deal with that at that time.
I'll just add one quick comment, Mr. Chairman. We're fine with that. We understand that. We understand it's at our own risk. Again, we purposely located the proposed accessory building in this area to make sure we were outside the largest buffer, which would be 300 feet. So even if there was a C1 wetland or stream on this property, you know, you would have a 300-foot buffer. We're outside of that. We're well outside of that, and that's why we placed it here. If we didn't have to worry about that, this would have been directly in back of the building, so you would have no site concerns or anything like that. But by moving it and shifting it to the left, we would then run afoul of that. So we purposely put it here to avoid any buffer. So we're confident that, and we understand it's at our own risk, but the applicant is confident that an LOI will confirm what our environmental consultant has already looked at and determined to be the area of delineation of the wetlands.
Yeah, I'm pondering. Well, look, I'm just one. You know, my concerns are always that in this world, people tend to feel it's easier to ask for forgiveness and permission sometimes. You know, what sometimes I get concerned with is things go awry, and then people come in here with their, I'm not saying you, but people come in with their stories. Oh, you know, please, 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 and then we're in a weird position. So that's why sometimes we like to have all the ducks in a row so we can avoid that.
Understood. I would say that we wouldn't be able to use the building until obviously the construction official signs off on it, and that sign off would be contingent on us producing the LOI and any other DEP requirements. So, you know, again, we're building this at our own risk, at our own expense. We can't use it. If for some reason we're wrong, then that's on us. We'll have to, you know, move the building or demolish it and start over. But we won't be able to use it until the construction code official
Is
signs
the
off on
LOI
it.
just on the accessory structure, or is that part of the parking too?
It's for the environmental features.
Right, but the
So
parking
it's-
affects the environmental, doesn't it? Because it's the
No,
stormwater,
it's the existing environmental features. So what it
Oh.
would be doing would be mapping what's there.
How about the septic?
Not DEP.
So,
basically, so basically, that defines the environmental features in the regulated areas. And the way this is proposed, any disturbance is far away from any of those features that they have mapped out. And if the DEP agrees, then it's going to be no problems. They get the LOI, it's defined, they're 400 feet away, and it wouldn't be a problem. They wouldn't have to get any permits or anything because there's no work or disturbance within any of the regulated areas.
And we'd agree not to start work until we've proven that we filed for the LOI. So that would be a condition. To perfect perfect the approval, we would have to show proof that we filed the LOI with DEP, and only then, once we've proven that, would we then be allowed to construct. So, you know, we have no problem with that being a condition.
And Mr. Chairman, one of the things, the main thing is with the LOI, the verification application for the flood hazard area and a riparian zone. Once you submit, there's a 90-day clock that the DEP needs to follow with they can get, I think, 130-day extension. So there's a clock that they would need to issue a verification. The problem here is an LOI, there's no clock. And I mean, I've seen applications that go a year and a half with getting approvals or, you know, feedback from the DEP. So I don't want to place any information, any words in place here, but I think that's one of the reasons why they're asking for this.
correct.
I would also
Correct.
note that based on their environmental map that their environmental scientists flagged, the riparian and the flood that is much close. The riparian area is much closer to the building than any wetlands appear to be, and that's most likely going to continue to be the case. You know, the unfortunate thing is, I mean, it's good that they're keeping the buffer, but this is a Category 1 stream on this west side of the property, and that really is what is defining the location of this, what they're proposing here, essentially. And that, you know, the Category 1 is not, you know, it's not so much like the wetlands where you might come back and the location might be a little different, your buffers might be a little different. This is, you know, the stream bed has been mapped, you know, the riparian area has been designated, and that's not really going to change dramatically.
If you don't mind, maybe go back to the site plan and kind of to show the board the limits of the regulate, what you have proposed as a regulated area, so we understand.
Yeah, and I think to your point, the survey picked up the stream bed itself. So that buffer is 300 feet. There's no buffer greater than 300 feet. And that stream bed was picked up by the surveyor. So, at most, maybe the DEP determines it 1 to 2 feet off, but it's not going to be 100 feet different than what our surveyor picked up.
So if you look here, you have the limit of the existing wetlands here. You have the limit of 150 wetlands transition area here with this dotted line. And then the closest dotted line is the 300 riparian buffer here, which basically intersects the back corner of the property. So
That's the existing parking area.
Correct.
correct, that's the existing, not proposed, correct.
Yeah,
there's-
so with that, it doesn't affect that existing parking area. That was before the regulations came in,
Correct.
so that can stay. But you can see they've kept all the improvements to the east of that line.
Correct.
I mean, is it worth, I'm also looking at a letter from the HEC, the Homedale Environmental Commission. Couple things. One, what's the issue with the wildlife they're talking about? They're saying that there's like some endangered species there or something, or they have some concerns? Is that anything to be concerned with?
I don't know exactly, I haven't looked exactly which one they're referring to, but that is the case on many properties that do have stream corridors. They're often categorized by NJDEP under these kind of broad brushstrokes.
And we are not proposing to disturb any of that
Exactly.
wooded area where typically is where the wildlife is living.
Right. And also, they said, I can see that part of the existing parking lot is in the buffer?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's what I just mentioned, the existing
Oh, you did?
parking
I'm
lot.
sorry. Okay.
Yeah, if you look, there's that dashed line
No,
basically in the
I
middle
see
of
it,
the
that
screen.
little upper left corner. of the-
Yeah, but that's an existing parking area, and they're not proposing to do any work in there.
And that, I would almost guarantee that predates when this stream was recategorized as Category 1.
Okay.
Do we know like when this building was built, by chance?
I believe per the tax records, it was built in the 70s. So
Okay.
it's kind of like a faux historical kind of colonial look.
Right.
Yes.
And I guess the question maybe for how long has Slice been in the building?
I think they bought it in 2021, I believe.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah, they bought it in 2021.
Did they
so-
do any modifications,
Just
adding offices?
in the interior to update the office space because it was a little antiquated, but they've left the outside and the initial parking lot as is.
And no improvements to the septic system?
Not to my knowledge.
I guess my question is around the septic system. It was built for this building. I don't know for how many, but the capacity of the building that it was built for. Were there any improvements along the line? We're adding potentially 30 to 40 more employees, it sounds like, if we're increasing the parking spaces. Is the septic system going to be able to absorb the additional footprint or the additional people?
So the way that sewer flow or septic flow is calculated is typically based off of the gross floor area, not the individual employees in the building. So again, we'll have to look back and see what it was designed for, but assuming no additions have been made to this building, when it was originally designed for this 2-story building, it would have been designed for the total gross floor area.
Square footage.
Correct.
And then I think
But
that
the same applies
that
to
the
parking
applicants,
too,
and you
right?
stated that they're trying to get that paperwork to confirm, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
We'll send in an OPRA request.
Craig, one question for you. On number 11 on your grading and stormwater management piece, you have listed here a manhole with a label S that they need to identify. Is that for septic? Is that for storm or sanitary sewer?
Per our review, we believe it's stormwater.
Is that
That's fine. It's more of a question for the applicant. And I don't disagree. It's on the side of the building, so.
okay. And then number 12, kind of on that stormwater, this new building doesn't have any stormwater calculations or a report that would calculate it, where it's going, what the flows will be?
What that is, it's a set of calculations that show the piping system that they proposed has capacity to
Correct.
Correct.
We can provide that.
When can that be provided?
As a condition of approval.
Mr. Mann, basically with that, it's, you analyze the pipe, and if the pipe needs to be larger, it needs to be larger, if the slope needs to change, so it can accommodate the flows that are going to the pipe.
And Craig, for just my basic understanding, that all is the stormwater coming off the roof, it all gets collected, is what we're talking about. Without the design of the building and the roof, are we able to do that calculation based on what we have in front of us?
In terms of stormwater management, it's just the size of the roof, and that's a drainage area, and that water gets directed into a pipe. So that's the question I asked before. It's not gonna go off on splash box, it's gonna go into a pipe system down to that basin. And that's what the question was, is that now you know the water going to the pipe system, including the roof area and the new parking lot area, confirm that the pipes are sized adequately, which they'll do, and if a pipe needs to increase in size or increase in slope, they'll make that adjustment when they're doing the calculations.
Thank you.
The existing building has the same kind of roof drainage system, it gets collected into or does it just go onto the ground?
There is an existing storm pipe shown coming out of the left side of the building into the storm main that is, going vertically towards Main Street. So yes, I believe those roof leaders are collected into a storm system that is discharging into the same main in Main Street. Separate systems, though.
I don't know, I didn't ask this before, but this shed, that's gonna be conditioned air? Like you're gonna have air conditioners in there or heating? You got
We
all the
did-
electronics in there, I wasn't sure if it's gonna be.
I don't think it'd be necessary to have air conditioning, given how quickly they come and go. Certainly, there'd be insulation and stuff and other measures to keep everything warm and not freeze and everything like that. But certainly, if AC was needed, we would look at that and accommodate that. But it was not planned, no, because there's not going to be, again, any workers inside the building.
No, but I know when you're
Just-
storing electronics like
Correct.
computer, there's usually.
Right. Again, but those electronics are just boxed. They're not running, and
Oh, yeah,
so.
I get that, but
right.
if you're 95-degree day and it gets 115 degrees in there, I'm not sure if that's gonna affect your
Right.
POS systems.
I can understand that.
Plus, if there's batteries, we don't know how
So-
that's gonna affect things.
Right.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions of this
Is
witness?
there, just sorry, you may have asked it or talked about this, the existing parking structure, the parking lot in the back, is there stormwater, when stormwater is collected there, is it sent anywhere? Is it just absorbed into the surrounding buffer area? Is that gonna be redirected with the new system coming into the front of the area of the building, or are you not touching the old parking lot?
So the existing parking area and the existing office building are all collected. There's a couple inlets kind of around the existing site.
Okay.
They're all collected and piped into the storm
To the
main that's
front.
in, correct.
Okay, parking lot was coming forward also.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Anything in the wooded area is sheet flowing into the stream.
Right.
But anything as part of the existing development is being piped to the main street.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, one last thing. You mentioned lighting before. Once again, I'm also sensitive to the new neighbors. If there's houses there, I'll know what, make sure it's not gonna be like, Times Square. These lights go off at night, or?
The lights can certainly be dimmed at night. As part of, a security plan, we're happy to work with the professionals about any sort of dimming or off hours type of fixtures. I will note that at the property line that's on the east side, the minimum light levels per code is 0.3, and the max we have there is 0.2, which for a foot candle is really small. All the lights are also facing down, so there's no glare. They're all dark sky compliant, all LED, and they're 20 feet tall, so they're not, significantly high and visible.
And there's no wall packs or anything like that on the eastern side of the building or on the rear of the building. The only building mounted lighting is on the front facade.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, facing the parking
Yes,
area.
that I think is where the adjacent site would see. So that's good. But yes, I think it's important that we just make sure everything is spacing down.
As far as deliveries, I know it's going to be sporadic now since it's such a big unit. Are they during the day? Are they in the evening? Are we going to hear beeping of the backing
No,
up
it
of
would
the
be,
trucks?
it would be during normal business hours. That's when the shipments would be most likely occurring.
Yeah, I think, Gary, this doesn't, I don't think this is gonna be like a typical loading dock like you're envisioning. It's
Right.
just really, just picture like an Amazon truck dropping off boxes, right? Is that a fair way to explain
Yes,
it?
I think that's
Okay,
accurate,
so-
Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that. Sounded
what's-
like it was one delivery is going to cover for a long period of time.
Well, we'd be
No.
able to cut down on the deliveries too, because we won't need as many, because we'll have more room to store. But they will, even though they'll be more sporadic, it'll still be in a box truck like an Amazon or UPS or a FedEx. We're not talking about a large delivery like you would have a tractor trailer backing
Yeah,
up
that's
to
what
a
I'm saying,
loading
yeah.
dock and having everything offloaded and things like that.
I mean, but it is a fair point about, a lot of these vehicles do have backup warning horns, or beep sounds when they
Right.
back up, and he's right. If are they gonna? You don't want to be hearing beep 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 all the time either. When you're
Correct.
planning.
I mean,
Okay.
right now there's more. There's actually more deliveries as it exists now during the day. So, and it'd be the same type of delivery, same type of trucks. So we're actually cutting it down.
But you'll have forklifts, high lows, all those kind of things in there too to stock the
Well,
shelves.
yeah, there would have to be some type of forklift or some type of high
Right,
low
but those all
to be
have
able to
backup
stock.
alarms as well.
Understood.
That's right. So
Right.
Um,
But again, I think we're far enough away from any residential. And I know everyone's talking about the Vonage plan.
yes, you should. I'm just
down the
saying
road.
maybe we
Understood.
should really put that on the next plan just to see, because those things. I don't know what's the decibel level sometimes for that. Is it 70 dBA or?
It is, they're using it inside, and I think as long as we, it depends, if they're gonna be used during normal business hours, I'm not sure how much, as long as they're within the code, I
Right.
think that would be
Yeah,
what it would.
And that's
come
our
down to.
intention.
Okay.
Is the state noise ordinance, was that what you were about to say? The state noise ordinance overrides.
All right. Okay. Let me see.
What are the hours of operation?
9 to 6.
6? And after 6 o'clock, the building's shut down, nobody enters?
Yes, correct.
Also, just so you know, another hot topic that's always here is Main Street is notorious for traffic. And although you're increasing parking spaces, I don't know if that's really going to increase the number of cars. Is that something that needs to be addressed?
No, this is a permitted use in the zone.
What's that?
This is a permitted use in
It's
the
permitted zone.
zone, which means that in zoning this property under OL2, the township committee, already identified it as
Okay.
appropriate for this use.
Gotcha.
And
Forget-
and to be just noting that a much larger office could be on this site and could have been in the past. It might be harder now with the environmental constraints, but yes, it is permitted
Okay.
use.
Okay. Anyone else? No? No? Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you very
much. Counselor, if you want to call your next witness.
I do. I'd like to call Mr. Ritchie, who is our planner. If you can-
Mr. Ritchie?
Good evening.
Just need to swear you in, sir.
Yes, I do. My name is Thomas Ricci. Last name is spelled R-I-C-C-I.
Like Christina Ricci, right?
Same pronunciation. Not related. I don't think so, at least.
Mr. Ricci, could you just briefly tell the board your credentials and your qualifications?
I'd be happy to. I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I'm nationally certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners. I have been accepted before over 100 land use boards throughout the state of New Jersey and New York. I have a Bachelor of Arts degree from Rutgers University and a master's degree in city and regional planning, also from Rutgers University. My licenses and certification are active and in good standing.
And you've been accepted as a expert in planning before local planning and zoning boards before?
Yes.
Okay. I'd submit that Mr. Ricci be qualified as an expert in planning to be able to testify on behalf of the applicant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Proceed.
Mr. Ricci, can you briefly tell the board, again, we're just focusing on the planning aspect, so not the engineering. The chairman brought up a good point. He talked about an undue hardship. Can you explain the positive and negative criteria that go, because we're just seeking C bulk variances here. We're not seeking D, so there wouldn't be a requirement. And again, I'm just talking as a lawyer for undue hardship, but could you walk the board and its professionals through the planning and the positive negative criteria under the municipal land use law as to why these variances should be granted.
Yes, I'd be happy to. And if you could flip to the site plan, I think that demonstrates the hardship that you're referring
to
to.
the next page.
So for the record, we're flipping to sheet C, I believe it's C4 of the submitted site plan.
Just move down. Yep,
Yep.
C4.
And then if we could zoom out so we could see
Yeah,
the
I'm going to do that right
rest of
now.
the property.
Yep.
And while you're doing that, I can kind of start with a brief introduction. So this is in the OL2, the office laboratory zone. We have an existing office building on the property. That's a permitted use. That's an allowed use per the zone. The storage shed is also a permitted accessory use. There was comment in the planning letter, and I agree, it's customary and incidental to the permitted office use. So we have a permitted principal use and a permitted accessory use that we're proposing here. So it's not the variances are not for the storage shed itself. The main variances are really related to the setback. So my initial planning observations of the site plan and the surrounding area and some of the constraints. Number one is that this is significantly environmentally constrained. As you've heard from our engineer, if you look, most of the left side of this piece of property is constrained by both the wetlands and the associated 150-foot transition buffer, and then you also have the stream. It's the east branch of the Willow Brook. There's a 300-foot riparian buffer along that stream. So you have basically undevelopable area. You could develop and try and get a DEP permit, but usually if you have other areas on the property that's feasible to develop, that's really the better planning route. And that's what we have here. That's essentially what we're doing, is trying to stay away from those environmentally constrained areas. To add to the hardship, as Ms. McGuire mentioned, we have an undersized lot. 30 acres is what's required, and where 12.1 acre is proposed. We're less than half. So between those two factors, having an undersized property that's zoned for office, zoned for these uses, and then also the majority of the left side of this property being environmentally constrained, those are driving the need for these variances, the setback variances for this accessory structure. I actually want to start with a couple of goals from the master plan, kind of atypical fashion here. I know that normally comes from the planners towards the end, but I think it sets a stage for the variances because the chairman's right. They talk a lot about preserving some of the natural features in Homedale. Specifically, they talk about provide for the protection and proper management of Homedale's natural resources, and also to protect natural resources to the greatest extent feasible, including woodlands, surface water, wetlands, groundwater. So that's really the crux of moving this away from those environmental areas. Now, on the flip side, more from a less of a conservation standpoint, more of a development standpoint, there's an economic goal in the master plan. And it talks about facilitate the redevelopment or upgrade of existing non-residential properties where appropriate. So you've heard the need for the applicant. This is a needed component to help to better serve their clients, and what they feel is going to help optimize this office use, which is allowed in this zone. So really, I think that those two goals, we strike a nice balance between the two. Is obviously it's a 1970s building. They recently bought it in 2021. They've identified, the need for this to optimize their business and serve their clients, which are a lot of local businesses. And then you balance that with the environmental goals of trying to preserve that area. And this is really the site plan that we came up with that I think balances those two goals very nicely. So we are adjacent to the Vonage site, and that is the site that is to the right of us. It's to the east of us. Now, that is where the side setback variance and the rear setback variance is being sought. Now, there is a lot that's in between our lot and the future development of the Vonage site, which is I think it was being proposed as senior housing as it stands right now. So there's a lot that's proposed to be subdivided, and it tapers in width from about 37 feet, and then it widens to about 70 feet. So that's in between our lot and the future Vonage residential development. In addition to that, you have the building, you have our landscaping to the side of it, you have that lot that's going to be, I presume, preserved with the existing trees on it now, and then you have the ring road, which has a line of trees, and then past the ring road on the Vonage site is where you would have the residential development. Now, I saw some old plans. I scaled it to the best of my ability. This proposed storage shed as the plans that I saw, it'd be approximately 175 to 200 feet at its absolute closest point to the closest townhouse. So it's a pretty substantial separation between the two. Like I said, I just want to put on the record that was a preliminary plan I saw. I'm not sure if that was approved, but by the setback of this storage shed and then the dedicated land to the township and also the ring road, I'm pretty confident that that distance is within the ballpark, and I don't think any of those things are being proposed to be removed at this time. So there is a substantial distance between the future residential development and this shed. Behind us, it's wooded. There's that above ground open air basin. There's some what appear to be utility sheds that's behind the site, so we don't back up to a residential property. I don't anticipate anybody being impacted there. Once again, I did look at the redevelopment plan, and no residential structures are being proposed in that back. So when I look at the back and the side, nobody, in my opinion, is being directly impacted by the setback encroachment of this storage shed. Landscaping was brought up on how to buffer this. We do have landscaping that's being proposed throughout the site. I think it's a good condition that we would agree to work. We're happy to work with the board professionals if they think that we could add a little bit more landscaping to help screen this. I think, once again, that makes sense here, considering we are seeking the setback variance. But I will note, as Ms. McGuire mentioned, one tree was being removed and 23 are being replanted throughout that parking lot. And they're staggered. They're staggered all throughout the parking lot. So not only is that going to help green up the parking lot, but I think it's going to help screen the view of that shed from the street. So I definitely think that is a benefit and something that helps mitigate that. The rest of the relief that we're seeking, parking setback to the building, once again, nobody's going to be in that building. It's not like we're putting desks in an office building right up against that. So I don't foresee any issues with that. We're seeking a variance for loading. Loading is, going to be maintained as it is now in the front. Ms. McGuire talked about the lighting relief that we're seeking. She designed it really with security purposes in mind. It's all directed internally. When you look at the foot candles on the edges of that property line, I agree that's important. They're all 0.1, 0.2, or 0 foot candles, so we really minimize the spill over there. And then, yeah, with the landscaping and shade tree requirements, we have some waivers for there. But once again, I think we're increasing landscaping substantially on the property, and we'd be happy to continue to work with the professionals to landscape this property, to the extent that they see fit. So really, to sum up, I think that these variances, it can be granted under both the C1 criteria, which is hardship, because as I mentioned, undersized lot, some of the environmental constraints that you have on the property, and also C2. This is what we would consider the better planning alternative for the property. Compliance with the setbacks would either bring us into the environmental areas, or it would actually bring the building, the storage shed closer to the street. But what we have is an area where it doesn't abut any residential properties to the rear. So in my opinion, this is what the flexible standard allows for, is this is the better planning alternative than the zoning requirements for this specific property. So I absolutely think the board can consider both the C1 hardship criteria and the C2. As it pertains to the negative criteria, as I mentioned, I don't think it goes against the master plan, and I actually think it's strongly aligned with what the master plan goals are. And then with regards to the zoning, once again, it's a permitted use. We're seeking the setback variances, but I don't think that there's going to be any substantial detriment to what the zoning is intended to govern on this site or to the public. Oh yeah, and I just want to mention that this project is compliant with impervious coverage. It's compliant with building coverage. It's compliant with FAR. These variances do not represent either a non-allowed use or an over-intensification of the site that a developer's, wanting to build just for their own, say, profit or greed. This is purely related to the hardship conditions on the property. And I like looking at those other metrics because they really do provide, at least myself, when I review this and give my planning opinion, it's really a safety net. It complies with those other metrics of building coverage, of FAR, I know we're close on impervious, but we do comply with it. So it really doesn't represent, in my opinion, over-intensification of the property. That's really all I have to offer the board right now, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Well, Craig and Kate, you guys want to?
DJ, the only thing I would just note, just to be clear, so it's a little complicated with the Vonage subdivision just because you're right at the corner. So you are correct. The property to the east that was shown, that the preliminary and final subdivision was approved for that. That is to be dedicated to the township. It's not. It's public use is to be determined. I will say that given the shape of the property, it's unlikely that back corner will be, used. But it's not necessarily going to be fully preserved. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then the second is to the rear. That is going to remain part of the overall new redevelopment site tract. I agree with Mr. Ricky's, excuse me, no, you're not Paul Ricky, TJ Ricci, yes. Same spelling, different pronunciation. Mr. Ricci's assessment that it is approximately 175-ish feet from the corner of the shed to the nearest townhouse, and that has been preliminary approved. They would need to come in for final site plan approval. That hasn't happened yet. I think, and again, as we mentioned, this site was developed before the stream was a Category 1. Obviously, there was some environmental conditions on the site. Things are pushed to the corner. They're even more pushed to the corner. I think and I'm going to ask this from a planning perspective. Do you think that there is, and this might be more for your client, but I think the question that a lot of us have is really about aesthetics at this point. It's about, so maybe this isn't really a question for you, TJ, but I think that, this
Which, by the way, is part of the master plan in a way.
Yes. And with, and I think that we understand that this is a storage structure. This is not, going to be where people are working. This is not, this is an accessory storage structure that is permitted. With that said, could you mind putting up that website again?
Sure.
I'm just trying to think of, because, so that is, we had the schematic drawings. I knew that it was proposed to be a metal shed. I guess my question would be, do you think, from a planning standpoint, how do you think that this aligns with, kind of the view shed along this part of Main Street, if there's anything that could be done to improve it besides, just landscaping?
You can always improve something. I won't shy away from that. This was the design that we got from the manufacturer. This is what they offered us. This is typical for these types of sheds. As it pertains to fitting in with the surrounding aesthetic of the area, I think we're happy to offer, we can work with you guys. If there's, whether it's a facade, changing the color, or some sort of facade that we can put on this so it doesn't look as industrial, that would be something we would be willing to accommodate.
Because that's kind of what I'm looking at. First of all, I think that this image is doing, you know, to be honest, I think this is doing your client a disservice because I think that it makes it look a lot taller and bigger than it actually is
does.
because of the angle.
And again, I
Yeah.
just want to be
No,
clear,
I
this is
absolutely-
not in conformance with the actual
And this is-
schematics that we
It's
submitted.
too industrial for
Eh,
520 Main Street.
And this is also,
From Lincroft
yes.
to Marlboro, you go through Lincroft, Homedale, Colts Neck, Marlboro, and et cetera. Nothing like this appears along that drive.
Right. And I, you know, and again,
This,
yeah.
and I feel that if I'm coming down 520, and even if I'm coming down Homedale Road, this is going to be in a line of sight.
I will tell you, nowadays, it's very easy to satisfy the board members and the public's concerns if you just sort of take a shot and put a rendering to show like the scale, what it would look like. That might go a long way to, you know, making people feel ease or allay our concerns a little bit.
Because I think my opinion as a planner, as on the merit, this is one of the few remaining office zones in the township. This is an office user that wants to grow their business in the office zone, and I think that, you know, I think given the environmental conditions, I think those have all been well documented. The reason for this location, what they're going to be doing with it. But I just think that we want to look at this, and I had hoped that, you know, landscaping is one thing. When a site is this large, I think it's, as I admitted in the beginning, it's hard for me to kind of picture what it would look like from the roadway because of the size of the site, and also just, you know, just really how it could be. The other thing that I think we want to avoid is, you know, we don't want it to just look like you put up like a fake barn, something like that.
Correct.
You know, that might be a little better than the steel thing, but, you know, at the same time, you have to acknowledge the fact that this building is sort of like brick colonial style, and we want to kind of acknowledge that as well. And, you know, you have an existing formerly commercial site that's going to be renovated on the Vonage property. You're going to have new modern style townhouses if everything gets approved. And so I think we don't necessarily want to go like something like hokey, like a fake barn, because that, you know, that's kind of the easy thing to think, because it's like, it looks like a barn, it looks like a pole barn. But, you know, I don't think we're going to answer this right now, but I would, you know, I would encourage within staying in this same type of structure, I think it would be reasonable for the applicant to kind of work with us.
You know, I like, you know, Slice people to know that, you know, we want to encourage, you know, people like yourself to invest in Homedale and be in Homedale and do stuff. But we also have to be considerate of the neighbors. Just like if we would make sure that when Vonage does something, they're not going to do something that's going to impact your property as well. You know, that's what we're here to do. So so you understand where we're coming from. So, anyone else have any questions of this witness? No. Good, DJ? Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Ritchie.
Thank you.
Counselor?
Last witness, Mr. Kennedy. He's our traffic expert. Yeah.
Just want to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please, spell your name for the record.
Sure, it's Nicholas Kennedy. Kennedy is Kennedy.
Mr. Kennedy, briefly for the board, tell them your qualifications and credentials.
Sure, I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. My license is current and in good standing. I hold a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from the University of Hartford. I prepared over 300 traffic studies throughout the state and have been accepted as an expert in the field of traffic and transportation engineering in front of over 3 dozen boards.
With that, and based on his credentials, I'd ask that he be qualified as an expert, as a traffic engineer, be permitted to testify in that capacity before the board.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kennedy, can you just tell the board what your role here was and what your findings were?
Sure. Again, I'm the traffic engineer on the project. Our team at Stonefield prepared a parking assessment report that was submitted to the board, dated April 3rd, 2026. I'll try not to repeat too much of the testimony that was already provided. Obviously, you've heard from 3 other witnesses already. But again, the site's located along the northerly side of Main Street. That's County Route 520. It's an existing 20,700 square foot office building with approximately 130 employees. and it's the headquarters for the Slice company. Access to the site is provided via one full movement driveway along Main Street. And really what you have on site is a driveway along Main Street that leads you into two directions. You can either head towards the back of the site to a rear parking lot, or you can make the quick left in the front of the site where I'll say you have kind of a circular turnaround area. Today there's 108 parking spaces on site. I think you heard from the applicant that, again, there's 130 employees. They often have parking problems, and you have things like on-hands meetings where everybody has to be there. They've used parking spaces off-site. So again, I'll get into it, but as part of this plan, we're looking to propose more parking spaces, not only for the existing employee population, but also any future growth with this business. So again, as Ms. McGuire was previously testifying about, the circulation would be revised. The parking area would be increased from 108 spaces to 180 spaces. Again, that would accommodate not only the 130 employees today, but a future growth. I think it was talked about maybe 165 employees. Again, that 180 parking spaces is something that the applicant, and looking at this from a traffic perspective, is kind of necessary for a site like this. There's really nowhere else to park. There's no other off-site lots that could be utilized. There's no on-street parking in the area. So accommodating the number of employees that are actually going to be in this building and are in this building today is something that we found paramount. And I think what we tried to do is provide not only the storage shed itself for all the operations that you previously heard testimony about, but to provide the appropriate number of parking spaces for a site like this in its current condition and in its potential future condition. The storage shed, again, would be located in the rear of the property. You've heard a lot of testimony tonight, but it'd be for storage of essentially credit card POS systems of all different sizes. They'd be delivered in box trucks. You've heard some testimony about the number of deliveries based on my conversations with the applicant. Essentially, once all the product is in the storage shed from where it is located now, essentially what you would have is two pickups every day. That's your typical FedEx or UPS pickups to send these to different locations. And then you would have one delivery, again, via box truck or box trucks about every 6 months or so. Again, that's once all of the product itself is in the storage shed. Obviously, it's not. We don't have a storage shed today, so there's nothing on site as far as anything that's being kept outside the building. Again, there would be no tractor trailers on this site. I think that's something we want to stress. The drive aisles and circulation of the site don't accommodate a tractor trailer, and we don't plan on having any tractor trailers on site. Any deliveries would be that, again, typical FedEx, UPS size truck, or a small box truck. What we did on this site, and I think what Ms. McGuire testified to, is the two-way drive aisles. They're generally 24 feet at minimum. As she testified to, we would update the parking stalls, so all parking stalls would be at least 9 feet wide by 18 feet deep. There's a few that are existing today that are non-compliant. We would slightly expand those. They're 17.8 feet. They need, again, just a 0.2 foot increase to be compliant. We're willing to do that, and we have the drive aisle width necessary. Again, not to repeat too much, but really what this is renovating an existing facility for the uses and for the storage that it needs to operate without having off-site storage, essentially. I think we've designed the drive aisles and the parking spaces to accommodate the existing facility and any future growth of the facility. We wouldn't have any tractor trailers on the site. Everything would be delivered via box truck. And I think the on-site drive aisles and parking spaces, while some exist today, we would bring them into compliance. And I think the circulation and access into and out of the site is safe and efficient. I think that's really it for my direct testimony. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that haven't been answered or any questions directly of me.
And just to clarify, I know Mr. Herman had a comment about submitting a circulation plan. to show that certain trucks could and cars could make certain turn and turning radius like a garbage truck, and you have no problem doing that as a condition of approval, correct?
Absolutely, I had that written down and I forgot to say it, but yeah, that's more than okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good.
Because I did see when you come in and you make the right by the handicap, I wasn't sure how tight that turn was because for fire trucks and things like that. So
Yeah, we'll provide the necessary turning templates, and you know you could slightly increase that radius if needed, and we'll make sure obviously any emergency vehicles, fire truck, ambulance, what have you, can get into and out of the site and obviously circulate around the entire property.
okay. Yeah, I guess our traffic people made comments, right? Craig and Kate.
I just have one quick question. Generally, you can see that it's a loop circulation. So, for the majority of the parking, there is that one looks like a dead end aisle. It looks like probably only the 4 stalls because the 6 you're kind of in an open area. That's generally okay for circulation.
Yes, actually those spaces today and in the future are actually assigned, so nobody would be going down to that dead end aisle without knowing that that's their parking space.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, I see you're adding 2 spaces at the turnaround. I mean, at the circular drive or whatever at the front,
I'll move that.
right?
Yeah, I think those are really just your general quick turnover. If there's somebody that needs to get into the building, if there's a longer longer pickup for a delivery or something like that, that's where they could pull in. I think that's really just your general quick turnover spaces. It wouldn't be used for really employees parking and going into the building for long periods.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? No? All right. Well, got off easy. That was the easy one.
I
All right.
already got it.
Thank you. Thank you. We got one more witness, right? You said 4?
No,
that's it?
That was all 4. Yep.
Oh, okay. So if no one else has any more questions of the applicant or their witnesses, I guess we can open it up to public questions at this time. Looks like there's only Pat here. If he's a,
Yeah.
you have to, okay, so, if there's no questions, then we can close public questions and we'll open up for public comments. Just give him the mic, please. Thank you.
Hi,
You affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
And just spell your name for the record.
Patrick Triskita, Trischita.
Address or not?
And your address.
56 Line Road in Homedale. I'm a longtime Bell Labs retiree, longtime resident of Homedale, going back nearly 50 years now. I'm all for, I usually come to these meetings and hear about the bucolic nature of Homedale, but I wanted to stand up and balance that off with the real greatness of Homedale is not farming. It is the technical and scientific discoveries and the technical innovations that Homedale has made essentially for humanity. And when I looked at the application, I went through all of that. I know a little bit about Slice. It's a great technologically advanced company on rapid growth, and I think Homedale should do everything we can to encourage companies like Slice to come to Homedale and to come to our bucolic town and innovate, which they are certainly doing. Going up to 168 employees is, to me, amazing, and all on site. For today, that's pretty much unheard of. The technology, there's probably a lot of technology packed into those little handheld devices. So I'm saying, sure, the place does look like a barn, and I bet you if it was on a farm across the street, it would be approved in a minute as a barn. Maybe they could dress it up a little bit. The building is a gorgeous colonial style building. Maybe you could make it look brick red or put some colonial facades on it, but I think I'm really here just to balance. I was expecting my bucolic friends to be here arguing that this would have a major impact on the Willow Brook and the water safety in all of Homedale and Monmouth County, but obviously it doesn't. So I'm here to congratulate Slice and thank you for being in Homedale, and hope the board takes recommends this project to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Anyone else from the public? So no. So at this point, we are gonna close comments, public comments, unless some of the board has some comments or suggestions.
The only comment I have is, and I believe in growth, and I'm very happy for people that they're expanding their business and they want to do it in this town, but I feel it needs to conform to the landscape of the town. I'm not happy with a warehouse, and that's what it looks like, and I feel that it's in the line of sight, and that's my biggest problem, is the architecture, and they didn't give us an elevation.
Okay, so maybe that's a good suggestion. Maybe we can have an actual rendering, not from the website, but maybe what it's actually going to look like, so the board can make an educated decision on that. Right, Joyce? That's what you. Yeah.
I would prefer something. I wish they came in here, and I would have voted tonight.
Yeah.
But I cannot vote for a warehouse.
I think I kind of echo that a little bit. Just the size of the shed, 10,000 square feet. Just the footprint itself is almost as big as the footprint of the building in front. I know the building in front is 2 stories, but it's 20,000 square feet. That's with 2 stories. So it's a sizable building in the back that's basically going to be the same size as the front building. Maybe it's a little shorter, but it's hard to know exactly the size of it. But just based on the square footage, it's going to be a large building. I'd like to see a rendering or some form of what it looks like, other than just what was on the website.
Yeah, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here. I think an architectural drawing, something that shows us what this looks like. And I also like, my other concern, our fire official and our construction official had no idea what was going to be stored in the building. I think it's going to be important to hear from them, especially regarding, seeing the side of the box with the lithium batteries in it, or batteries, whatever they may be, just making sure they're comfortable with what's being stored in that facility and that all the proper codes are being met to keep us safe.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I know you guys mentioned that it wouldn't be climate controlled with that stuff being stored in there. I don't know if that would be something that maybe should be looked into. If that gets hot, those things can blow up.
I can make a suggestion, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Because I can see where the trend is going. So instead of having a vote tonight, why don't we agree to adjourn this to the next a full 30 days? Because if you're requesting, I know you meet twice a month, I believe, correct?
Well, the next meeting we're scheduled is the 16th.
Summer's only once a month, so
Okay.
there may be some bookings, but.
Okay.
Let the secretary.
So next available would be June 16th or July 14th.
Okay. I want to be able to get notices out, obviously, because it would be a continuation.
You would have to notice.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess, if we can get on for the June 16th and we can carry it to then, that would give us enough time to at least get a rendering. And if the fire code official, the construction code official have concerns, we certainly could address that at that point in time. And that would prevent you guys from having to make a vote where I think you're torn. I think you do appreciate that Slice is a member of this community, and they are growing, they're adding employees. A lot of the employees actually live in town. Ms. Kaplan is a resident of town. The CEO, Alex Grossberg, is a resident of town. So I understand that the board is torn. Instead of putting you in that uncomfortable position of having to make a vote where you're, feel torn, I'd rather carry it and then get you some type of rendering if that's possible, and give the fire code official, construction code official, some time to add additional comments now that they know what is being stored. And if they have concerns, then we would address those concerns as a condition of approval. And if those concerns are, this needs to have a sprinkler, this needs to have some type of HVAC system to keep it climate controlled, then that's something we could address as a condition of approval. But I think that would make the most sense, is to carry this until June 16th, you said?
Yeah.
Yes, just to keep in mind, is this enough time for you?
Let me just speak with, if you can give me 1 minute
Sure.
just to speak with my colleagues. After speaking with my colleagues and our professionals, we think July would be better, just to be safe.
I think so too. Thank you.
I was also just going to note for Mr. Hyde and for the board, as well. I think what we're looking for, it's still going to be this type of some type of modular construction, and so we're happy to talk with your professionals in between. So it's not going to be there might not be there's not going to be an architect here presenting the rendering, talking about the building materials. So it won't be that level that you see for other places. But I think that there's a lot of distance between what we saw tonight and there, and just some colors, materials, things like that, and we'll just be sure to get that. So just so the board doesn't expect a fully full architectural plan. It's still probably it'll be similar.
Correct.
Just need a motion and second to carry.
What's the exact date?
It's July 14th.
Yeah, so I want to make a motion to carry?
I'll motion
Without further notice.
without further notice.
Mr. Connolly,
Yes.
Mr. Vanderham,
Yes.
Mr. Mann,
Yes.
and Mr. Silberman.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms.
What
Plausas.
happened to me?
Ms. Plausas, I apologize.
Yes.
Of course, Ms. Plausas. So for the record, the matter of Slice Marketing was carried without further notice to July 14th, 2026, 7 p.m.
Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Okay, with that being said, there's no professional reports, so at this time, someone make a
Motion and second, please.
motion to close the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Thank you.